Hello viewers, you are welcome to the second part of our very interesting time, very informative if I may say, with Anatu Ben-Lawal. The first part of this was really eye-opening, and she's going to be speaking, very directly to quite a couple of developmental issues, particularly in northern Ghana. Anatu, you are welcome to the second part. And very quickly, we'll just need to look at the area you've been working in the last, I believe, in the last few years, which essentially is the northern part of Ghana.
Several countries,
Yeah, and other countries, of course, right. But how many regions make up the northern part of Ghana?
5 regions. There used to be 3.
Okay.
And then they split them, and then added 3. The 3 became 5.
All right. Yeah. And then looking at the 5 northern regions, I mean, what would you, over the top of your head, say about the respective regions when it comes to output of commodities, of raw materials, as the case may be?
Yeah, I think in the output of raw materials, there's a huge potential there. Okay. There's a lot going on, but I think the northern part of Ghana has really, and northern part of most countries, has really been untapped. And if there's a push towards agribusiness, you have various products, some of which are not even like purple-fleshed sweet potato, orange-fleshed sweet potato. In northern, in the Savannah region, you have amazing honey, you have amazing baobab, products that is different from the baobab from other regions.
Right.
And so these are unique products that really have a chance of growing. That's why we also did a food index last year to identify what currently is present or what was present and is not being grown anymore, because then you know that there's the potential for it to be grown again. So you have all these things, alligator pepper, locust beans, such a wide variety, and I think a lot of focus has not been given to that. And there's also huge potential in the vegetable markets for the 5 northern regions. And one of the things I always say is that northern Ghana has an abundance of very hard-working people.
Okay.
I would give that to them. Nobody can fault them for that. But they work very hard for very little. And so it's about bringing in the processes, bringing in, especially the issue of value addition.
Right.
What other things can be made out of that, and then creating that into a dynamic movement and a value chain from northern to southern Ghana and exports as well. I think that would work very well. And then you also have moringa, you have the spice industry, black pepper, etc. Very huge potential over there.
What of the shea nut? Of
course, the shea nut, as we know, is the main thing that northern Ghana is known for, and I think across all the 5 regions. There's a lot of deforestation going on around the shea, so when we come to the issues of climate, etc., there's huge potential there as well to turn the shea story around. But I want to also say that in terms of body butters, we need to go beyond shea. You understand? Everybody's doing shea butter, and and we love it, and but we also need to look at diversifying into other butters and what is potentially available as well in northern Ghana, whether it's almond or we need to explore all those things and find out what's going in the market, and also how to diversify, because now you have a lot of women who also are producing the shea, but they don't have buyers.
They produce the shea, but they don't have buyers.
Yeah. And so they are forced to sell it at very cheap prices, especially those in the very isolated areas. So when you have the people the off-takers who come, they offer them any price. And if you're in a village somewhere and they only come once a month or once and you're supposed to charge them 100 cedis for this pot of shea butter, and they said, we're going to give you 40 for it.
Do people plant the shea tree in northern Ghana now?
No, they don't. And I think it's interesting. They don't. It somehow grows.
It grows in the wild.
It grows in the wild, but many times the fruits actually fall to the ground.
Right.
So that's how they pick it up. So I think there is that thing of it planting itself. But I think in the long run, we're going to see a major toll on it, because they're burning the wood for fire, charcoal, firewood, and also bushfires to catch animals. Yeah,
with no strategy or plan in place to replace those trees.
Absolutely not. So there's a lot of education, and and so that also can be done for the.
So reforestation using the shea tree is a great possibility.
It's a great possibility.
And the acacia tree?
Acacia tree as well. There are so many trees, different woods.
economic trees.
Economic trees that can be used and tapped, and their potential is unlimited.
So basically, in the 5 northern regions, where you've talked about the agro-allied sector, you've talked about the cosmetic sector, and you also mentioned in the previous program the fashion sector. Anything about chemical allied? Chemicals. Here we're talking about the derivatives of organic compounds, which are used to form, maybe things like extraction of salt.
Oh, absolutely, yes. Right. So you also have that. There's extraction of. There's a whole lot of around even infusions. A lot around. What for me Northern Ghana represents is the potential of new products. Right. It's still untapped. There's still a huge part of the savannah, and some of the trees are a local language that I can't mention. That have nobody has ever even done any feasibility or any study or any lab analysis on them. Right. But they hold a lot of promise in terms of because sitting in the incubator, I got many of my girls to tell me what were some of the home remedies when you were young, what were your grandmother's using, and it was amazing what came out and what I found in the way of aromatherapy, in the way of aphrodisiacs, in the way of food and other derivatives as you talk about.
You just mentioned the issue of your incubators again. Let me now ask you, directly. Would you think that the business incubator method is an actual means out of poverty, the economic doldrums that the youth and most parts of our populations find themselves, particularly in northern Ghana?
Oh, absolutely. I think the kind of education that we have in the country does not provide for specialization in different areas. So you go to school and then you come out and here in Africa you see 1,001 courses going, and somebody always has to go and do a short course at Gimpa or a short course. If there was a system or a vehicle that when you went into it, you were taught everything from beginning to end in terms of, even when we look at the issue, we've discussed monoproducts, incubators with monoproducts, where maybe this is just focused on maybe the cassava value chain and looking at value addition or products that can come out of the value chain. You are trained in all things cassava. Right. But what incubators also provide that people don't realize, for me being a gender activist, is also a safe space. So what we also did with the incubators is that you can create an incubator to be anyway, of course. We always have to look at the business aspects and what you're trying to do there. But we also included sexual and gender-based violence. So the girls who were coming were not only just receiving business training, but also receiving support and help. Where normally you could go and you would ask somebody and say, let your daughter come from sexual and gender-based violence training or support. They might just tell you, we're not interested.
What will it cost for an incubator to get into the program?
Okay, so the ones we have held so far have been free. Okay. They've been free in the sense that there was a donor or a funder, and that was what they wanted. Right. But in the long run, I do think that there has to be, especially at the level 2, there has to be a certain form of commitment. Or if we were to do a special vehicle like this, just because of the fact that when you commit to something, you are sold to it.
What would be the selection criteria?
The selection criteria, for one, I think you should have a certain level of specialization in the product in the first place. In the short term, if we're working with existing entrepreneurs, they should already have existing businesses or existing novel ideas that have produced some level of productivity and shown some commercial usage. For the start, second, I think the age range should be between 25 and 35. Okay. Of course, there's always exceptions to that. Right. If you have a brilliant 40-year-old or 21-year-old. Right. And I think it should, excuse me to say, I think it should also be focused on women.
Well,
as much as possible.
That is your gender bias, which we quite understand. Okay. I mean, as a gender activist and a feminist at that. Yeah. How do you carry this on with your work? Okay, so I think for me also being a feminist in Africa, where feminism has been seen as a bad word, actually for me, when I was growing up, I met a group of women feminists at a certain point in my life, and that was the game changer for me. I was at a point in my life where I didn't know what I was doing, whether I was coming or going, and for me feminism gave me back my passion
It taught me learning about the great women who had gone before me, what they had done. And basically, a feminist is somebody who just believes in the equality of male and female. Now, you can have radical ones, just like we have denomination, etc. That's personal preference, but basically,
well, as a social innovator, equality is one of the cardinal points of social innovation.
Yeah.
So I believe that as it were, supports the position of feminists and gender activists, for that matter, because there have been studies which go to support the point that households that have women that earn more money seem to have more children go to school from such households than households where the males or the fathers, as it were, earn more money. So I think that is in deference to your position, and I think that it's a welcome one, because it's all part of the social innovation process.
But when you have communities, and sorry to go in and barge in, where they are known, where that particular bias or vulnerability is known, the oppression of the girl child, sexual and gender-based violence, and the northern Ghana and the northern parts of most of the countries I've worked in have the highest rates. And when you have that, the voice of the female is silenced, the lack of opportunities, the issue of unpaid work is a really huge one, domestic slavery, and various practices. I mean, I could tell you about seeing women who have been whipped with dog chains, women who are giving out in transactional marriages, bride price, dowry, all these things that you talk about, and that only exists in places. And
when they come to the incubator program, how, what is the effect that the processes, which are put in place to educate them or to turn their products into world-class products?
Okay.
I mean, what effect does it have on them?
Oh, it has a powerful effect, because let's face it, all of us can admit to this, that you can only be as productive as your emotional state.
Right.
No matter how much we think or how gifted somebody is.
That's quite crucial.
Very crucial. So you have to work on these women and support them. Some of them have never known anything else than to be, some of them are very oppressed. It's a very oppressive society where you grow up from a young age and you are never asked what you wanted, and you are slated for marriage to be given to somebody because transactionally it makes sense. A girl child is nobody. You have no support. You don't even know what opportunities. So you're dealing with women like this. So you have to put a component in the training where there's just this safe space for women where they can come in, speak about their issues, etc., as well as the business training. And then you also need to have the specialized training. So if it's food, then you need the food training, the training on food technology and all those issues. But then you also need to also begin to look at the woman and her issues and productivity and giving her a voice, and that in turn also immediately affects also her business. You see more coming out of her business
and subsequently her home.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or even her decision to be married or not to be married, or to stay in an abusive situation or not.
Okay. So let's look at this scenario. So in a typical private business incubator, as you suggest, what's the time span which you indicated to train the incubatees?
I think 3 years, but at
3 years.
Different levels. So you are looking at production starting at some point in year 2.
Okay.
The first year is really just mindset transformation, understanding project management, all these.
Will these incubators will they have some form of education?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
For a start, yeah.
For a start?
Yeah.
What is the cutoff point?
I would say a degree. But I'm also very open to the fact that they are specialized courses. So somebody could be an expert and maybe they've been farming since they were young, and their parents had, and so they are specialized in that, and they went and did some course at KNUST that is specialized in agribusiness or agro nutrition, but that doesn't necessarily have.
So typically the first year will be done, we used to do what?
The first year will first of all be used to set the mindset of the entrepreneur, the mindset and the character of the entrepreneur.
Right.
Very important in relation to who they are, where they want to be, their goals, but also in terms of the output that you want from them. So setting the stage, making them understand basic principles of project management, globalization, futuristic thinking, analytical, critical thought, etc., etc. The first year will be that, and then now beginning to look at also the second year. A little bit in the first year, their products as well. So everything you are doing is vis-a-vis the product and the sector that they are going to go in. Then the second year we'll now be looking at how do we now go into value addition, how do we now produce. Then the third year is more of production, mentoring, etc. But I have to say, after the third year, you are not sort of letting them go. They now go into this pool of mentoring, hand holding, etc. You continue to expose them, continue to push them out and put them on a platform, etc. So I'm really talking about a family that is there and lives forever. And then they also have to come back and mentor those who are coming after them and share their lessons and also help with the hand holding. Very essential and crucial.
So 3 years, expectedly, the incubatee would, more or less subscribe to the tuition or tutelage, for that matter, of the incubator system.
Absolutely.
And more or less abide by the understandings which the
if you don't pass year 1, if you don't meet a certain criteria, you don't make it to year 2.
You don't make it to year 2.
Nobody is going to waste money.
And in the interim, will they get some form of stipends?
Yeah, they will, but it will not be in the form of just a stipend. It has to do with their production and what is needed. And many times you find out that it's not actually the stipend that they need, but they actually need the materials or the machines or the ability. So that also the other aspects of the incubation that we talk about, which is maybe a shared space where they have all these machines and products, etc. That will be enabled to, because that's something that they really suffer with. So the stipend will take on individually different varieties, but it is not a stipend that is just handed over. It's actually for production and to get you.
At what point would you, bring them in touch with venture capitalists, angel investors, or maybe for donors, both foreign and local?
I would say at the beginning of the first or second quarter of year 2.
Of year 2?
Yeah. And so that they see what they are working on, so that by the end of the year, they know that these are the products that they are in progress.
What will the graduation criteria be?
The graduation criteria will be that you have actually come out with a product that ticks all the boxes, is globally competitive, is excellent in terms of quality, the packaging, the branding, all of that. So everybody who comes out of that incubator, or anybody who engages with that incubator or vehicle knows that out of this, I'm going to get the best. I'm not going to, the standards are not going to be changing every day, the quality, etc., the thinking, everything, excellence on every front.
So product development would score a very high.
Oh, absolutely.
Will come, top of the ladder of the scale. To more or less make a good case for the students. To exit the incubator. You said when they exit the incubator in 3 years, how does the incubator continue to be of assistance to them?
I think for me, what would be good is at the end of the third year, where there is another vehicle which is looking at maybe marketing and selling the commodities for a certain percentage. So that's a win-win. For them if they choose to. But I think that should be the goal, because you want they call it circular economy. So you also want to see and make some money out of that. So the initial investment is recouped and then given to somebody else.
Don't you think after the third year they will still require some form of funding?
I think it all depends. Sometimes you find some people who are very, very sharp. They have been able to attract investments, etc. But the goal is not to keep them dependent on funding. If we do our work well and they have the products and the goal is more to link them up with people so they can scale more and more, or add this, or diversify that particular brand or what they are doing. The goal is not to just give them more and more money, because I think 3 years is sufficient to develop a product. And yes, I think 3 years is sufficient to do that. And so anything else should be something that is coming to expand in a better way. Yeah.
We will definitely be paying a visit to you in Tamale. And in doing that, we hope to see more of the actual products that have more or less come out of some of the processes you've handled. And in furtherance of that, I think we would also want to see some of the areas where the raw materials come from, and those who are in farming and the rest of it. You mentioned to me some time ago about a particular wonder crop now called the fonio. Tell us a bit about that. Tell us a bit about fonio.
Okay, fonio is it's an example of a grain, an example of what we as Africans should be looking at in terms of some of the things that I think we've neglected, coming from our ancestors and our indigenous knowledge. So fonio is a grain that has been eaten by the Bambara people of Mali for centuries and years, and it has been in Africa. And actually, we didn't know much about it, but it's grown here in northern Ghana now. And there's a whole value chain, because it's the best food that for diabetics. People who want their blood sugar.
Has that been medically proven?
Oh yes, absolutely. You can look it up, and and so there's a lot of interest. There's a lot of interest in the health and wellness sector.
Do you have fonio farms around Tamale?
Oh yes, we do.
Okay.
We
can we see some of them?
Yes, we can see them. There's a lady called Sama Abdullahi who has about 3,000 farmers farming fonio. So she's the largest exporter.
What would you consider to be the local demand for fonio, and then the foreign demand?
I think the foreign demand is higher because I think like most things in Africa, we always never know what value some of our products have until somebody else, So it's similar to couscous. It looks like couscous, etc. But it's really, really something that is
laden with vitamins and
everything. It lowers your blood sugar. It works. Those who eat fonio are well off.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
that's wonderful. So now let's look at it this way: the graduate from the incubator system exits the incubator, but continues to have a relationship with the incubator.
Absolutely, that's a must.
Yeah, and that would also involve more hand-holding, I believe.
Yes, but in a separate way. So now we're looking at, if you are producing bulk commodities, we are producing, value chain level. So that level of hand-holding. So it's not the
lower end.
The lower end is at the higher end. Yeah.
Because I want to assume that in 3 years, an average incubatee may not have gotten abreast with foreign market.
You'll be surprised.
Either by volumes that they do, or by the qualities which they will be handling. But I mean, is there anything the incubator would put in place to ensure that the progress of the incubatees are fast tracked?
Yes, so
fast tracked to the extent of being able to take them out for foreign fairs. To exhibit.
That's very, very important. Exposure, exposing their products, and then we also have to look at it as a win-win for the community, for the incubator, for the person themselves. So it's not about somebody coming and benefiting and going and they're on their own and they're doing their own thing. You commit to this incubator, you're actually also committed to the fact that part of your, the commodities that we want to create, we're actually building a brand of commodities that will be sold on the international and local markets, and that you are part of that. And so all of that will be featured in the design. So if you are here, you are joining the incubator, you don't have a choice. We are looking at maybe X amount of commodities. We're looking at shipping X amount of, So we have to have a system where either we buy back and then we sell, So it has to be designed with that in view. So it's not something that you just come and learn and then you go away. No, that knowledge you also be able to produce income for yourself, for the site, for the incubator, and everybody else. Fine, we're not going to hold them hostage, but it should be a win-win from beginning to end, all across.
Since it's a private, you've prescribed using, a private incubator vehicle to handle this. Will this private incubator vehicle have shares in the various companies or products which the incubatees come out with subsequently?
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is not a charity. We're trying to break away from the model. And so it should have shares and it should be able to, and the profit that it makes can then go towards some of the social issues.
So will the incubator be acting more like at some point a venture capitalist?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
So we can grow into that level.
So at what point would you think that what we identified as the Chinese model, today where the whole world goes to China, to the trade fairs there to buy goods, and, the same thing, with Dubai. And at what point do you think that can become a reality in northern Ghana, where the whole world, would necessarily have to come to Tamale to buy, made in Ghana products and the rest like?
I think nationally, the second year, And I think internationally, we can look at the 4th and the 5th year.
Speaking seriously?
Yeah, yes. Like I said, hard work is not the issue. The structure, the funding, the investment to make it happen is what is the issue.
So, speaking to you as Anatu Ben-Lawal,
yes.
The social innovator
yeah.
and development strategist, what would you require to put this in place? Now we are talking about, bringing the world more or less, to experience the products in northern Ghana, to more or less, buy goods, attend the trade fairs there, enjoy the environment, and then virtually put, northern Ghana on the world map.
Yes.
What would you, as is a development strategist, require?
I would need, yes.
Yes. To
for this to happen,
happens.
I think we'll need partners who are venture capitalists from the private sector, but also we also want the public,
right.
Because there are all the soft issues that sometimes you have to take care of that of unforeseen, like the psychosocial support for the women and etc. Because you're really working with vulnerable women. So I think a mixture of both, and then also creating it with them. So it's not about just creating something in the corner that you think is wonderful, but coming together. But this issue of business, sustainability, etc., because we're trying to change this model. And when we talk about social enterprise, we are taking it to the point where we are now seeing actual products. We're actually seeing business booming. We're actually seeing, and that is what we change Northern Ghana. Nothing else.
And what do you think the drawbacks or the challenges will be in the process?
I think in the process,
what are the risks?
Okay, the risks is one of the risks that with Northern Ghana is that people don't like going there. So sometimes
who doesn't like going there?
People, like in terms of innovators and business, those who can really teach business and
why would you think that is?
I think it's the same for every deprived area where so for instance you have doctors who are posted to the certain regions and they don't go, or teachers for that matter. It's not unique because it's still a very 50 years behind the rest of the country, so you have to have a certain love or calling to it. So it's about attracting the right talent, but I believe we can. There are people out there. Wow.
But I find Tamale and Bolga to be very lovely cities.
That's what people don't know. So I also think there needs to be a whole branding, social media, talking about these issues. Yes, around.
I like that aspect of it.
Yes.
To showcase a community to the world.
Yes.
I mean, there needs to. I can just imagine, artifacts, cards, or like you rightly said, social media. Emblems,
storytelling,
storytelling, particular websites dedicated to marketing
the place,
and so you see something like Tamale, so it almost becomes a trade, what do you call it, a trademark, right?
Yes.
Or you see something like Bolga, or Bolgatanga, or Wa, and Damango, which is the last one?
The last one comes up is it Jirapa?
Okay, so let's just assume that there is a concerted effort in place, or plan in place, strategy for that matter, to brand the major capitals and the major regions of northern Ghana. What it will do essentially will be to bring them to the notice of quite a couple of discerning investors who want to more or less find out more about the place.
Yes.
And I think that information management at this point becomes very, very key. I mean, we need to have communicators, development communicators who are able to sell the story concerning that region. So I'm just speaking in tandem with your recommendation for branding. See, I at this point I would think that what the region needs, to highlight, publicize, virtually, make the world know what is, in those regions, in the northern regions of Ghana, will be the proper development communication.
Absolutely.
You see, so all the initiatives need to be put in place, you know, to more or less showcase. That's the word I've been trying to use.
Yeah.
To showcase what the regions have.
I mean, the region holds so much, and I think one of the weaknesses of Northern Ghana, which is a strength, but actually translates as a weakness, is I don't even think that all the tribes there have been recorded. I think there are more, and there are so many, and even within tribes, there are if you can call them, there are sub-tribes. And they all have different traditions and different, fascinating, different type of cooking, food, weddings, marriage, and there you see the diversity of what Africa can hold. But again, because of that diversity as well, if you don't have a concerted effort at unity, etc., then everybody's kind of split, you know. But it will be, I think that there will be no end to the branding possibilities, and there are amazing festivals and different traditions and things that people do, and so some of the most loving and most beautiful people you could ever imagine on earth.
So social innovation is the answer?
Absolutely. Innovation leading to business, leading to profit.
Do you consider becoming a development queen of any of the regions of Northern Ghana soon?
I just want to be a servant.
Really?
I think I'm happy with that, yes. And support the queens.
And then maybe we could then make this as your name, or to indicate to you as, you know, the Amazon of development. Thank you, Anatu. It's been nice. It's been nice speaking with you. Viewers, as I said earlier, I believe that it would not be misplaced to make Anatu the Amazon of development of the 5 northern regions of Ghana, based on the kind of passion and information and more or less a desire to ensure that the regions become economically sustainable. So Anatu, we're happy and we're delighted, we're grateful that you came by our studios today.
Thank you.
To have this conversation.
Thank you.
Yeah, and as I said, we'll certainly be seeing you soon.
Definitely. I'll be waiting for you on the farm.
Right. Thank you, Anatu. So viewers, we'll see you when we get up north. Thank you.